Really? You
Another
can't use Ron.
carbon heptane. Squeeze it just a little,
Uh,
and it'll ignite.
I thought you can't
Scientists
use
in the
Ron.
1920s created an artificial scale, assigning heptane a 0 and octane a rating of 100. This way,
Okay,
unknown fuels could be
makes
tested
sense
and
now.
compared to pure octane or pure heptane. So a gasoline with an 87 octane rating performs as if it contained 87% octane and 13% heptane, even though it actually contains molecules of many different lengths. The frustrating thing about octane is that low octane would please most engines most of the time. You only need that high octane a fraction of the time, during those extra bursts of power when accelerating. But long before anyone cared about octane, or even gasoline for that matter, there was another product that dominated the early oil business.
Kerosene.
Next, drilling the first oil well, and the birth of the refining industry.
Hi, folks. Joe Namath here to alert you to an important Medicare deadline. You may be able to get Part C.
Go to smartbigsloans.com today. Apply now.
Considering the wide range of products, in addition to gasoline, that can
Coke.
be derived from crude oil, it's no wonder people make such a big deal about the price of a barrel of this smelly, gooey substance. And the whole fuss started in 1859, when a man named Edwin Drake drilled the first oil well.
The well was drilled in 1959 to a total depth of 69.5 feet. Within less than a year, over 1,500 wells had been drilled in and around Titusville, Pennsylvania, primarily because oil was close and shallow near the surface.
Experiments at the time had shown that boiling small amounts of crude oil that had already bubbled to the surface allowed chemists to collect a new product known as kerosene, which could be used to light lamps. The drilling frenzy in Titusville began because Drake had proven there were vast amounts of oil farther underground. This great supply allowed kerosene to light lamps more cheaply than its blubbery competitor.
Where whale blubber was becoming in short supply, the future of whale oil seemed in question. Suddenly, magically, somebody comes up with this product that can be made from something coming out from the ground.
Kerosene was separated from the rest of the crude oil materials in primitive refineries. They were appropriately called stills.
The early refineries were basically just like a drum with a tube sticking out of it. It was very similar to what the moonshiners used to do.
The process known as distillation boiled oil until it vaporized. Then vapors were collected and condensed back to liquid form. In the 1800s, people couldn't have cared less about the gasoline which boiled and condensed just before the kerosene did.
Before there was an obvious market for gasoline, it was seen as a nuisance, and after the refining process produced most kerosene that you could get out of it, quite often the gasoline would be dumped into a nearby stream and float on away.
Throughout the late 1800s, refining remained simple and was a cheap business to enter. Anyone could become a refiner. Then one refinery owner in Cleveland figured out how to outdo all of these small-time competitors. John D. Rockefeller said, if you can't beat them, then buy them. Instead of taking his profits early, he poured the money back into his company to buy refineries and the companies that transported oil and kerosene.
The Rockefeller Trust,
Standard Oil.
which was created
Amoco.
in the late 1800s, was put in place
Amoco
to take
BP.
advantage of the large number of small independent producers. In other words, gathering these into a large entity, but because of the concentration of power, the concentration of all the resources, it really became a monopoly.
By 1880, Rockefeller's company controlled 90% of America's refining capacity. But just as kerosene had bumped whale oil off the market years earlier, Very soon, Thomas Edison's new invention would turn out the lights on the kerosene business. Fortunately for Rockefeller, the various people tinkering in their garages with the first automobiles found that gasoline worked best for internal combustion engines.
Henry Ford came along and started manufacturing cars with the combustion engine. That created a whole new market for the oil industry to really focus itself on this new product, gasoline. It was just found market, unbelievable expansion, just beyond people's wildest dreams.
Gasoline, the former hazardous nuisance, became the oil industry's savior. Between 1900 and 1910, the number of cars in America skyrocketed from about 10,000 to over 500,000. And just about all of these cars needed gasoline. Refiners had to become more efficient to keep up with demand. Fractionating towers, which first appeared in 1908, improved distillation by allowing refiners to separate gasoline and other products from oil more quickly and accurately than earlier stills. This process turned about 15 to 20% of the oil into not so great gasoline, with octane ratings only in the 20s and 30s. But even with